Okay, so time for our next talk about Cuis Web from Gastón Caruso.
Okay. Hi all. I'm Gastón. I am a student at the University of Quilmes. Also, I software developer at Ten Pines. Some months ago, I had to work on my final project at the university. So I go to the Bioinformatics lab at the university, and I asked them what projects they were working on, which projects were available to work on. Well, we took a little, and I found a project that could be interesting, which was about developing an interface to explore information about proteins in a certain way, organized in certain ways. But the problem was that I also wanted to use Cuis for this. Smalltalk in general, but I wanted to use specifically Cuis. So I had to find a project which matches with that. So this thing about exploring information was interesting because it implied a web development, which is the regular job that I do on my daily work. So I grabbed the web client library for Cuis, which is a port from, I think it's a library from Gemstone, if I remember correctly. It provides both client and server functionality, but I just use the server functionality. So web client maybe is a misleading name. And also I had to provide some visualizations features, like render some graphics using the tree. And also each protein is related with a 3D model, which I render with a web library, which uses WebGL, called NGL. So I started developing Cuis Web, which is also not just the web server, also renders the view. So I did web server rendering, server-side rendering. And also, because I had a lot of data, I handled the persistence also, all in the image, which was like a problem. One of the restrictions that I had was that I just could use open source, so I couldn't use like Gemstone or something like that. And also because, well, I don't know the current state of or status of the connections between Gemstones and Cuis. So as you can see, there's a lot of things there just for a library. So I started. After that, I started working in a second iteration because I call Irizar, like the icebreaker, because I think that rendering HTML in Smalltalk was a little hard. I want to focus in one thing, is just the web server and defining a good way to handle the request. I want to give you a little demo. First, I want to show you a local version of the project. The project is called CodeNAS. It's like the name says, conformational diversity of native state. Quaternary is the characteristic of the proteins that are inside this database. So there are some basic functionality in searching. I have because this is a local version of the actual project, there is a limited information, so I can't just find where I want. Bigger? Sure. It's a little responsive also. All in Smalltalk. So for example, you can see here protein in particular. You can see here the 3D version. This is NGL. It uses WebGL to render this model. So it's using the GPU. This is JavaScript because it's running on the client. But for example, this is a conformer. It's not a protein itself. It's like a group of proteins. So for example, there's another. And the main functionality is this. This is where Angel the tree displays a tree. I could make it work locally. So, but there is an advanced search, and you can add more queries. This is the first version of this search. I have to improve. It's not so hard, but this is just the only thing left. Another interesting feature is that you could explore the information using, for example, this is the organism where the protein was taken. So if you click one category, some searches will be performed automatically. For example, this is the name of the type of protein, and well, let me. I want to show you. Well, never mind. So this is the first. This site was built with the first version of Cuis Web. The library itself is online. You can go to GitHub and find the library. And the next iteration, this is the Irizar web server, is just this developing the routes handling, and that's all. The interface is this. I can make that font bigger. I don't know why. I don't know if you can read. I can. Yeah, I could grab that to another editor maybe. Yeah. Sorry, but can more or less can you see that? So yeah, it's like you tell the web server. It's actually the entry point of the entire application. This has a router, so it delegates this action to the router to handle, for example, this path in particular, this verb, this HTTP verb, and you provide a block, and you do that when you handle the request. But, for example, you can see here a little of duplicate code, right? So maybe we can do a refactor. We have time. So yeah. So this is the test of the router. You can see here running. But also, one interesting thing is that I integrated the library with CI, like we talked yesterday. So as you can see, all the build is passing. So yeah, I can like refactor. Let me have this one, right? So for example, this one, I won't think in the name of test. Just I will perform a new request with this, right? But in this case, I want to let's do this. I want to use this. Sorry, post. Yep. And in this case, I will perform a request, and if the request is correctly handled, it should be included in the handled request. So I will run that test. Of course, there is no message. Well, never mind. Handle. This should be a path with an action, right? And this should do yeah, both. This is post with an action, right? And now the test passes, and all the test passes. But I want to make a pull request for this, so I will first I check the changes. As you can see, there is the test. Oops. Yeah, just for example, router and this. For example. Okay, now I will create a new version using the installed packages. As you can see, this is a modified package. I will create a new branch. Oh, yeah. I will create the branch. Yeah. This is the way, the workflow that we usually do, right? We create pull requests on GitHub. We explain a little, right? We create a pull request. Usually we should wait to someone to review the code. For example, if you go to file changes, for example, if I ask someone else, they could, instead of just downloading and installing the package on their own environments, they could just see the code. Maybe the ST format is not the best to read the smalltalk code, but I think it's useful and it's better than downloading the package. And we should wait for CI. And as you can see, it took like 34 seconds, and it's running again after merging the changes. We could see the build running here. Yep. As you can see, all the test passes. I am also running all the library tests. So I will merge the PR. And yep, that's it. Now we have that message on the router on Irisar. You can find the library there. It's on my personal repo, and it's called Irisar. There is a README, so you can follow these instructions, and you should be able to use this small package. I plan to keep improving this, but I want to keep the responsibility to manage, to handle the routes and the rendering the views in separate ways. Maybe you want to see some of the original Cuis Web code. There are some interesting things. For example, this is the start of the application. My database or the result of the investigation of the laboratory of Quilmes is they give me some CSVs, and I had to process those tabular data and create some Smalltalk objects. But that's not interesting. For example, some interesting things are like how I render the pages. I verified some HTML elements. So for example, that's the let's see the cluster view, cluster details, and as you can see, I have some analogous elements of the HTML as Smalltalk syntax. Yeah, that's all for the demo, and I don't know if you have any questions.
Questions? I have one. Why did you do that instead of using Teapot or the one that already exists?
That's a good question. The first thing is that if I would do that, I had to port and learn how those frameworks work. And I want to create something smaller and specifically for Cuis and clearer.
Okay. Any other question? Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.